everyone! I'm still in Seoul, South Korea, and as Korean food is getting quite trendy in US, I thought I would share another Korean dish today. The dish that I'm introducing to you today is served cold, icy cold. But it's not an appetizer or a dessert. So when's the last time that you've had an icy cold main dish? This dish originated in the North Korean region, but is quite popular in South Korea. And on those rare occasions when the two countries' leaders meet for a summit meeting, this dish often breaks the ice and sets the mood of compatibility between the two countries. When South Koreans eat this dish, we are reminded that even though that we've been a divided nation for over 70 years now, that we are still from the same culture and that hopefully that we will be able to become one again in the future. The dish that I'm sharing today is called Naengmyeon, which translates to cold noodle. Simple, right? It consists of noodle and the accompaniments, which can be broth, sauce, a meat, or vegetables on top of it. So today, let's learn a little bit about the history of the dish, naengmyeon, and then go a little bit deeper by looking at its components, first the noodle and then the accompaniments. Now, naengmyeon is quite popular in summertime. In 2006, New York Times introduced this dish, naengmyeon, with the title that Korea's taste of summer is a long, cool slurp. Who wouldn't like an icy, cold, refreshing dish in the hot summer heat wave, right? But actually, naengmyeon was traditionally a wintertime food because you couldn't get things icy cold in the summer before the invention of refrigerators. So the book, Naengmyeon Biography, says that the first written record of this dish goes back to 1849, where it is recorded that buckwheat noodles were served in cold water kimchi, which is called 동치미, accompanied by steamed pork. It gained popularity as a delivered food because it was so hard to make at home. The Naengmyeon Biography talks about a delivery guy successfully delivering 80 bowls of naengmyeon single-handedly in 1935. So this delivery person had to carry 80 steel bowls with the noodle in it, and the accompanying broth, and had to ride a bike while doing it, so it was quite a feat. So why was this so hard to make at home? It was because the way the noodles is made. The main ingredient is buckwheat, which is chosen because it grows better in harsher climates than wheat. So after the harvest, the hard shell had to be broken and chapped off, carefully separated, and then the rest of the grain had to be ground into a fine powder. Then it had to be worked into a dough, but since buckwheat is not very sticky, the dough had to be made using hot water and net for about an hour. That's enough work already, right? Then the dough had to be pressed into the noodle form, which took 2 or 3 men with all their power to press down on it. The documentary Naengmyeon Rhapsody shows this picture of a 19th century artist depicting a man on top of the naengmyeon press, pressing down with his weight while climbing down the ladder with his feet. Thankfully, now it's done with machines. So if you visit one of the more authentic naengmyeon restaurants in Korea, these restaurants will use the machine to press the buckwheat into noodle form, which will drop straight down into the boiling water below. Sometimes other ingredients are mixed in to increase the starchiness. Wikipedia has some misinformation about naengmyeon, but it is correct that the buckwheat is sometimes complemented with potato in starch form, sweet potato, arrowroot starch, or kudsu to make the noodle. Now, just as you wouldn't eat the plain pasta noodles by itself without any sauce or trimmings on top of it, naengmyeon is also served with accompaniments. There are so many variations, but let's find about the main ones now. The most important accompaniment is the broth. As the LA Times recent recipe says, nowadays it's mostly made with beef broth. But traditionally it was made with water kimchi. So water kimchi, it was used because beef was such a precious ingredient out of reach of most commoners. The way to store water kimchi in the wintertime is to put it in these huge clay pots and have it buried underground. So in the wintertime, the water kimchi would freeze slightly, which would be a perfect broth to serve the buckwheat noodles in. It is topped with meat such as beef or pork, and then vegetables like cucumbers or radish kimchi, and half of an egg on top of it. Here's a picture of the naengmyeon that I ate yesterday. It's quite elegantly colorful, right? So today we found a little bit about where naengmyeon came from and what goes into it to make it. So hopefully this made you feel like that you want to try this dish, this popular Korean dish out. Maybe you can taste the nostalgia and hope of the Korean people while you're enjoying your dish too.